is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. And today we are doing part 2 of my mid-year favorites. We are talking about all-time favorites. So when I was doing my part 1, I went through everything that I purchased this year in 2021 and what were favorites from there. I realized that I have quite a few favorites that are not from this year that I still reach for all the time. So today I wanted to highlight what my current favorites of all time are. And as always, this is subject to change, but right now, these are the items that are my true favorites that I keep going back to, formulas I love, and so forth. And I did my best to really narrow this down so, I don't have a long list for each category, but for some categories, I do have more than one item, like blush. So let's start off with primer. And I have two favorite primers. This is the Surratt Perfectioniste primer. This is my second full size that I've gone through. I have maybe like 2 or 3 days worth left in here. I have to say the tube lasts a long time. It's expensive, but it does last a long time. I'd have to check, but probably somewhere around like 9 months or so. And then this is the Dior Forever Skin Veil Primer. So this is my other favorite. And the difference between the two of these and when I decide to use which one is kind of how my skin is feeling. So if my skin is feeling a little bit drier and, I want some extra moisture, then I go for the Dior Forever Skin Veil. This is a little bit more of a dewier primer. And this does have a little bit of SPF. So it's broad spectrum SPF 20. So there is a little SPF in here, and I have not found any foundation that does not work well over the primer. So I think it's a really great one. I really love this one. And the Surratt, after I put on, I layer sunscreen on my face every day. And you know how sunscreen can give you a little bit more of that like tackier finish, a little bit shinier, especially during the warmer weather. The Surratt cancels all of that out without feeling drying on my skin. It kind of mattifies things a little bit. And that's what I love about this. Even if I don't want to put makeup on after I put sunscreen on, putting this on top just makes my skin feel like not sticky at all. So I really love both of these. These would be my top 2 favorite primers, definitely. Now for eye primer, my favorite is the Vizier. I think this is the best overall primer for me because it's not drying to my eyes. It helps the shadows last a little bit longer. Now, if I'm doing something like really sparkly, you might want something a little bit tackier because this is not tacky at all. It's smoother, more silicone feeling. But if you're working with something like Pat McGrath shadows and you want a little bit of tackiness to it to kind of help hold the glitter and so forth, then you want to reach for something else. But for general everyday use, this is the one that I reach for. For concealer, I don't have a true favorite concealer. I skip around and try different things, but the two that I like the most would be the Clé de Peau Radiant Corrector for Eyes. I have shade Ivory and it is a little dark for me. So when I first got this, I didn't really use it that much because, I always put my concealer on top of foundation. This was just too dark. But I started putting this on underneath foundation. I really love the way it performs and it's seamless. It really helps hide like dark circles and so forth. So this is one of my favorites. And if I want more coverage, I like the Pat McGrath. So I have shade L1, which is too light. So I always mix it with another concealer that is too dark for me, like the Sisley Phytocerns, the one in the tube, this one. So I'll mix these or I'll mix in, any sort of concealer that I'm trying to use up that isn't the right shade, mix in, sometimes the Chanel Rosy Light Drops. So I think L2 would have been a better shade for me, but I wanted to use it up. So these would be my 2 picks for concealer. For foundation, we have a few options. My favorite powder foundation is the Suku Glow Powder Foundation, which is what I have on my skin today. It's not the best color for me, so I don't wear it a ton. During the summer, the color difference isn't quite as noticeable, but you can see that it is just not exactly the right shade for me. I have shade 210 in this. The thing is, it's like an amazing, incredible formula. I really love it. So I actually have it on as concealer and foundation today, and it doesn't even look like powder on the skin. It's amazing. So this would be my favorite powder foundation. Even though it's not a perfect shade match, it's still my favorite. My all-around go-to favorite is the Koga No Moisture Foundation. I have shade 012. I love this foundation. It's my all-purpose go-to, natural look foundation. And then the other one that I'm loving has actually been a mix. I like to mix the Clé de Peau Radiant Matte and the Radiant Natural. They're both great on their own, but personally for me, I get the best finish when I mix the two of these. I have shade I-10 for both of them, and the mix itself would be my favorite. Now for setting powder, which I don't use every day, but sometimes I do want to set my face, and that is going to be the Givenchy Prisma Libra Loose Powder. So I use shade number 1, Mousseline Pastel. This is, a limited edition lid, but the color itself is in the permanent line. This is the one that I use the most. I will even decant this in the lid. I'll use the lavender by itself under my eyes and so forth, and mix the rest, put all over my face. I love these powders. I think they are fantastic, and it's definitely by far my favorite setting powder. It doesn't leave any dry, powdery look to your skin. It just gives a soft, more of that velvet matte look to the skin with barely any product. And it lasts for me. It doesn't end up settling into lines or anything like that. So this is fantastic. Now my favorite finishing powder is from Chantecaille. This is limited edition, but I'm hoping this is coming back permanently. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything official or anything like that. But this is the Éclat d'Eau. And it is, it's available at some retailers. You can still find it. But it's limited edition. I think this packaging is gorgeous. This came out for the holidays a couple of years ago, and it's just the most velvety finish to the skin. And it's one of those finishing powders that I can still use when my skin is drier without making my skin look dry and powdery, if that makes sense. A lot of finishing powders, if your skin's, not in the best moisturized condition, you can see them. They look heavy on your skin. This doesn't. It really gives you that flawless velvety finish, and I really love it. So I actually use it probably more during the winter than I do during the summer. I don't use powder quite as much during the summer for finishing, but I mean, it's just incredible. I absolutely love it. All right, moving on to bronzer. My favorite bronzer is the Gucci 01 in Fair. This is still my favorite. I've talked about this for a while. I love the packaging. You can lift this up. You get a little half moon brush. You've got a mirror here. It's refillable. Unfortunately, they are not selling refills. So that I really hate about it. But I'm not a huge bronzer person, and this is the only bronzer that I truly love. So it's got the right tone for my skin. You can see it here that there's a little bit of red in there. And that really helps for me because I'm somebody who burns in the sun instead of tanning. So it's more natural to have a little pink in the bronzer. And the formula itself is just so smooth and beautiful. I have it on today. It's gorgeous. Now for a cream bronzer, I actually, don't use cream bronzer as much as I use powder bronzer, but my very favorite is actually this contour shade. And this is the Burberry Essentials Glow Face Palette in 01 Fair to Light Medium. And I love this whole palette. I love everything in it. But this cream contour shade in here is surprisingly, it works so well. I would have had no idea. But you can see again, there's a tiny bit of redness in there. It blends out like a dream, and it's weightless on the skin. So this would be my favorite cream product for bronzing and contour. Now, blush has been a little bit harder. So I kind of broke it into categories. My overall #1 pick for blush formula is the Sisley Lafido Rouge, or Lafido Blush. So this is shade number 5, Rosewood, which is my favorite. This and the coral shade are my two favorites from the line. And I just love this formula because, again, it just goes on seamlessly. You can buff this out. You can put it on lightly. It's very versatile, and I just love it. I do wish they had, they had a more expansive color range, but that would be my #1 pick. However, there are a few other powder blushes. Sorry, I dropped my palette. But the next item I wanted to mention are the Surratt blushes. I think this formula is beautiful on the skin. It leaves such a natural look, or you've got bright colors you can do for pop, but the actual finish on the skin is very natural looking. And they have different finishes. They have some that are shimmery, but most of them are more of that like satin matte kind of finish, which just looks super natural. So I absolutely love those. And I did want to mention, it's a product that is discontinued. You can still find some of the shades at Saks, but this is number 1, Platonic Blonde from By Terry. This is my very favorite peachy blush. There's nothing else quite like it. I think the formula is great, and this color in particular is amazing. So I had to include it in there, even though, you know, it is hard to find now. And then I also wanted to mention the Givenchy Prisma Libre Loose Powder Blushes, shade number 1, Mousseline Lilas. I have to include this because it is such a beautiful, more cool tone pink, which is so hard to find. And I love the way this one looks on my skin. So those are all, you know, kind of my top favorite blushes for powder formulas. For cream formulas, I have 2 favorites. That would be the Clé de Peau cream blush. This one here is number 4. And I did pick up the other shades, but honestly, I haven't opened them. So this is the one I've been using. I've had this one for quite a while now, and you don't need a lot at a time. It is a very expensive cream blush. I think it's $60 for this. And this is 0.21 ounces or 6 grams. But you use very little product at a time, and I have to say I love it. This is, I don't know how old this is, but it's over a year, and it's still going strong. And then the Makeup by Mario cream blushes. They have a brush on one end that you can actually twist and take off this so you can clean it. And then they have a wide variety of shades, but it's the formula that is just incredible. You know, it feels a little bit more emollient than the Clé de Peau. By the way, this has more of a matte finish. And these are going to be a little bit more luminous, not shimmery, but, you know, more of a sheen. But there's no tackiness to it. You know, it kind of melts into your skin. So absolutely love both of these. This is definitely a much better price point. I forget how much these are. I think like $28 or something versus the $60 here. Size-wise, this is 10.5 grams instead of the 6 grams in the Clé de Peau. Now for highlight, I also have a few options. My very favorite highlighting palette is the Guerlain Meteorites Pearl Dust palette. And this is really hard to find right now. I've actually been having a hard time locating this. But it is beautiful. I love these 3 shades. This is Pearly Gold, Pearly Amber, and Pearly Pink. Usually I mix all 3 of them, but sometimes I'll just, you know, use one or the other, and it's nice to be able to mix and match those. I also like to use these as eyeshadow. So this is my number 1 choice for highlighter. And then my other favorite, like everyday highlight, has been this shimmery pink shade from Givenchy. So I have this on today, and this tone itself is just, you know, a really great natural, like soft pink. It's not too cool, it's not too warm, and it works really well for my skin tone. And then cream highlighter. And then my favorite cream highlighter is actually from Rituel de Fille. This is Ice Bow. And I love this one. I reach for it all the time. And this was really hard because my other choice is the Surratt Torche Lumiere and Diamante. That's another one that I use all the time. So these 2 would be my favorite cream shadows or cream highlights. And then, you know, the runner-up for the highlighters was actually the Makeup by Mario and Opal. So those were kind of all of my favorites in that category. Let me just show you Opal here. And this one, you know, it's another gorgeous shade. So it's another favorite, and it feels like silk going on. It's very smooth. And one last one, here's the Diamante here. So you can kind of see that. So those are my favorite highlighters. And I have to say, honestly, I love these highlighters so much that I haven't been as interested in other ones that have been coming out, like the Dior Luminizers. I was really interested when I first saw those, And then they took so long to come out that honestly, I kind of lost interest in them. And I'm just so happy with these that kind of don't ever, I'm just not interested in picking up any others right now unless something really special comes out. All right, so my favorite brow products. This Jones Road brow pencil in ash. Look at this. It's a fiber brow pencil. This is my favorite for a creamy pencil look. This is kind of like an all-in-one type thing. You've got creaminess, you've got some fibers, it stays put. So that is a number one. And then when I want something a little bit more of a powdery look, it's the Gucci powder pencil. So this is the one that you sharpen. And I have shade taupe in this. I have shade ash in this. So those will be my two favorite pencils. And then for quick one and dones, I'm actually out of this, but the Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel is always super great. And then so this is the Surratt Brow Pomade. This one is the clear one. They also have the colored ones. I have both. The color one is great, when I'm just kind of in a rush, just want something on there. But I really love the clear one for going over the pencil and just making sure everything stays in place. So this is another favorite as well. So for eyeshadows, I tried my best to narrow it down to favorite formulas. It's too hard to narrow down like favorite colors. So I went with the Dior, the new formula from Dior that came out last September, I think. I absolutely love this. It's like an easy go-to for me. There are so many different finishes available. Absolutely love it. I think that's like my favorite everyday formula. But the Byredo formula in this Nugget palette, this one here is the Disco palette, which is my favorite of these Nugget palettes. This formula, I mean, look at this. And look at it on the skin, and it stays like that. There is no movement. I mean, there's no fading, nothing, no creasing. You can use primer. You don't have to use primer. It is incredible. I absolutely love this. So this is definitely a favorite. And for like shimmery, sparkly shadows still, Pat McGrath is still my favorite for these. So this one here is the Interstellar Icon quad, which I really love this one, but in general, her motherships, my favorite mothership is Subliminal, followed by, it's tough. I really like Divine Rose 2 and Midnight Sun. I just recently picked up another one, so we'll try that out. I did want to also mention cream products. My favorite pencil, which this is an old one. It's, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old now. So mine's loose in the container, but this is a mini version of the Sisley Eye Crayon. I love these. These are Lafido Eye Twists. This one here is shade number 1, Topaz. I'll just stick that here. And you can see that they're creamy. They blend out. You can use it as eyeliner. Absolutely love these. I love this formula. Also really love the, Chanel Stilo formula, but honestly, Sisley has a better color range, so they're gonna win. And then for cream shadows, you gotta go with the Tom Ford. So this is one of the duos. This is Fleur Neige, which came out during holiday, I think 2019. And this is my favorite one by far. This also has a powder topper, but the platinum shade from Tom Ford, which is, just the cream, is very similar. And I absolutely love this. I think he has the best cream formula still on the market. Now, mascaras. I have a few favorites here as well. My very two favorites would be the Surratt Noir Lash Tint. Absolutely love this. I love the metal wand on here. I think it is an amazing wand. It really separates. I personally like really natural, defined lashes. Lengthening is always nice. Volumizing is always nice. But my general go-to for every day is separation and definition. And that's what I really love about this. Plus, it lasts. You do need to use an oil-based remover or oil-based cleanser to remove this, but it comes off easily with that. I use a cleansing balm with no issues. So that is my favorite, as well as the Sisley. The Sisley So Stretch. I really love the brown shade. I love a brown mascara for natural everyday looks. So the Sisley So Stretch is my other favorite. And then when I do want volume, I actually really like using the Chanel mascara base and Le Volume de Chanel. That's what I use for volume, but you know, it's my favorite of what's out there, but it's not perfect for me. I think there could be something better. I just haven't found anything that I like more than that yet to give me volume and last, if that makes sense. There are lots of great volumizing formulas out there, but a tube of the volume lasts me better than some of the others. For example, the Jones Road, gigantic tube, great volume, but it dries up a little bit faster for me than the Chanel. So Chanel beats it, if that makes sense. So it's kind of where I am on that, but definitely my two favorites would be the Sisley and the Surratt. All right, so for eyeliners, I've also kind of broken that into a few more categories. My favorite soft, creamy eyeliner, more kohl-like. It's not a true kohl pencil, but that's gonna be the Chantecaille Luster Glide eyeliners. So I have the original ones, which were the Luster Glide Silk Infused eyeliners, and they have just redone them to take out the silk. I have not purchased one of the new ones, so I can't say for sure that they are the same. This is my very favorite shade, and this is my #1 favorite eyeliner of all color and everything. That's Olive Brocade. So I absolutely love that. And then when I want like bright colors, I love the Givenchy. So you can see it's smooth, it's creamy, but it does stay put. And they've got a lot of bright colors that have more of a translucent base. You can see like it's not like a deep base to it. So they're a little bit brighter, which I love. And then when I want something that really doesn't move, I like these new Chanel liners. I think the new ones are better than the old ones. This one here is number 38, Bleu Metal, and I absolutely love it. And they have a few brighter shades, but for the most part, you know, they are going to be a little bit less bright than the Givenchy. So I thought, you know, add all of those. And then for liquid liners, I have two favorites here. My favorite here are the UZ liners. They have lots of wild and crazy colors. They also have lots of neutrals, but it's a brush tip and it is, I'm terrible with liquid liner. These are so easy to use. So it's definitely by far the easiest. And then for felt tip, my favorite are the Suku Nuance liners, which were new this year as well. So this one here is shade 103. This one here is just called light blue. So absolutely love both of these and find them very easy to work with. And yeah, they're just incredible. They do last all day when you put them on. There's no like cracking or anything. I think they're just super easy to work with for anybody who is not great at winged eyeliner or anything like I am. So these would be my favorites. Lip liners were another one that was really hard to narrow down. The one that I've been reaching for the most for everyday use, I only have one of these. This is the Givenchy in number 8 Parma Silhouette. This is what I have on today. It's been my go-to lip liner since I got it. I think the color is perfect for me and it really, you know, it lasts. But other ones that I absolutely love would be Pat McGrath. This one here is Done Undone, which was my previous go-to. It's been getting harder to find it. A lot of the colors have been out of stock. I don't know if they're being discontinued in certain shades or what, but this is definitely one of my favorites. And then the Chanel. I love the Chanel ones, and these are actually a little bit creamier, but they last really well. So those are, I mean, all 4 of these are favorite formulas. And then the Sisley, I only have a few of these, but when I want a bright one, this shade in particular, Sweet Coral, is incredible. It goes with one of my favorite lipsticks, which we'll get to in just a second. But all 4 of these are favorites, and I think they all perform very, very well. I think performance-wise, the Sisley is probably the best, but for performance and monetary value, these 3 are ones that I reach for more, just because, you know, they're like half the price. So yeah, and there's a great color selection. I do feel like Sisley's color selection is a little bit more limited. I absolutely love them, but you do have more color options with some of the other brands. So yeah, I would have to say that recently I've been using more of the Givenchy and the Chanel. And then when I'm wearing like a bright lipstick, I've been going for the Sisley. So I haven't been reaching for the Pat McGrath quite as much, but again, I absolutely love them. My two favorite Pat McGrath shades for me, Done Undone and Half Naked. And I have backups because I love them that much. Now, I did want to mention one of my favorite bright lipsticks. This is the Hermes. This is Corail Aqua number 52. And this is the one that I love pairing with the Sweet Coral from Sisley. I absolutely love this. I think it's gorgeous. This is one of my favorites for color, but today I really wanted to focus on favorite formula because I feel like there are so many colors to choose from. You know, once you narrow down a formula, it's a little bit easier to then go pick out a color. So favorite formulas, the Sisley Lafita Rouge is one of my favorites. This would be my favorite for like a classic lipstick. And this one here is 15 Beige Manhattan. It is creamy, it stays put, and they have a lot of colors, but you know, they are going to be a little bit more traditional colors. You know, you've got pinks, roses, browns, you do have a couple oranges, but they're not that adventurous compared to some other brands. So it depends what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a sophisticated lip color, Sisley has it. Great formula as well. Now for more of the balmy lipsticks, my favorite is the Guerlain Kiss Kiss Shine Bloom lipstick. So this one here is number 129 Blossom Kiss. I think I've kind of narrowed this one down to my favorite shade in this line out of the ones that I have. I absolutely love these. Previously, the Chantecaille Lip Cheeks were a favorite for me, but they have recently added a vanilla fragrance. And while the Guerlain also has a fragrance, this one doesn't bother me, but the new fragrance in the Chantecaille bothers me. So that one to me, I really don't like that particular scent. So that's one of the reasons this kind of beats it. And honestly, I think I like this formula slightly better now as well. But that formula, by the way, you've got light sheer shades. You also have more pigmented shades. It's fantastic. And then on my lips today, I'm wearing La Bouche Rouge. This is nude pink. Again, this is a satin formula. I just find this to be so comfortable. I'm gonna buy more of these because, you know, when I first got it, I was kind of like, you know, it's nice, but I absolutely love it. And I think it's awesome. By the way, the cases are expensive. I think the case itself is like $80. These are refillable. So the refill is like $40. And you can buy them as sets and things like that. I think I bought mine from Net-a-Porter with a discount code and so forth even. But the case itself has a mirror at the bottom and everything. And these are great for more of a, I don't want to say a lip balm because it's lighter than that. But if you want a very light lipstick, this satin formula is really nice. I haven't tried the matte yet, but I'm looking forward to trying that. And then one more favorite lipstick. We have for like a velvet or a matte look. I don't wear a ton of matte lipsticks, but when I'm going like red, a lot of times I prefer a matte formula, and I have come to prefer velvet over matte in most situations. My very, very favorite is actually the Givenchy Le Rouge Deep Velvets. I think these are incredible. This is my favorite red. This is 36 L'Interdit. So this is my favorite red from their line. And I have a few of these lipsticks. Before the Lisa Eldridge Velvets were my favorite. And then when these came out last summer, I actually have a comparison video comparing these with the Lisa Eldridge, particularly with Ribbon, which is my favorite of her velvet formulas for reds. And yeah, you know, I've just grown to love this one a little bit more because it's a little bit more moisturizing on my lips, but they do have a very similar finish to each other. So this is gonna be my favorite for mattes. And then for liquid lipsticks, the Suku lip fogs. You know, I like the lip fogs. They also have the lip glow, which is satin. I like both of them, but my very favorite is actually, surprisingly, the lip fog. This one here is my favorite shade, but it was a limited edition shade, 103. So this, I'm not sure if you can get that anymore, but I absolutely love that shade. You might, if you can find the Silk and Sparkle kit, it's in there, but otherwise, you know, I think it's a long gone shade. And then for lip gloss, my favorite is the Sisley Lafito gloss. And I just realized, you know, Sisley really does make a lot of my favorites. But we've got, this one here is number 7 Venus, which is, you know, my most reach for shade. I absolutely love this, and I think the formula, it's not sticky, but it's glossy. You've got different finishes in there, and it's great. If you want a super pigmented lip gloss, these aren't best for that. You know, you can get color with these, but it's gonna be light, like a traditional lip gloss. So just something to note there, but yeah, this would be my favorite lip gloss formula. And last up, I just wanted to mention cases, storage cases. So my favorite storage cases for magnetic pans and so forth, this is the Salt New York one. And you've got a mirror here, it zips, you've got space in between to add a few brushes. You can see that it actually makes like a seal here. So you're keeping things inside fresh if you're using cream products like Salt New York is. And I mean, look at it, it's so luxe. This is great for travel. I absolutely love it. It's not as huge as the Adept palette though. So depending on what I'm storing, determines which palette I like to use. And these are going to be my 2 favorites. So this is the Adept palette from Adept Cosmetics. And I like having the plastic divider here, so you aren't having a mix of things in here. This is my Surratt collection here. And Surratt pans actually are not magnetic, but I put magnetic stickers on the back, so they are sticking in. These palettes can store a lot, and you know, it does get heavy having all of this in here, so just something to know. But these are definitely by far my favorite palettes for things that I'm like, you know, separating, like the Surratts I buy individually, or if you are traveling and you just want to take like a condensed collection, it's just incredible. So that sums up all of my favorites. These are my current favorites. You know, up until this point, these are subject to change in the future, but as of right now, these are kind of my all-time favorites. So I hope this was helpful. I'd love to know what your favorites are and what your thoughts are on any of the things that I mentioned here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you very soon.